brain and behavior module, and I feel like I'm losing both my brain and my behavior. Very gestures with hands. I love how these videos are getting progressively more unhinged as the year goes on, learning about all of the psychological diseases. And it's so easy to see something and be like, do I have that? Literally start talking to myself, or I'll literally just be going crazy. It's fine. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm so perky. Today, we're gonna be talking about crashing out in med school because it happens. And also I have coffee. I'm even have a script for this because I think it's very important to talk about. And also I want to discuss like the anatomy of a med school crash out, if you will, as well as how to get out of those phases. This is something that's universal and happens to everyone, even outside of med school. So it's definitely important to talk about and start conversations about, and also ways that we can work on addressing it, because it looks different for everyone. Also, I don't know why I'm so perky lately. It's probably because I have 5 shots of espresso. Let's first start by defining what is crashing out, because I've seen a lot of definitions on social media, and the way that I'm gonna use it in this video is kind of like burnout. So basically getting to a point where you're just kind of very overwhelmed, you start to not care as much, and you just kind of give up, essentially. I feel like in med school too, like there's 2 ways that this can kind of go down. The first one being some kind of catastrophic or major event in your life that kind of throws you off trail, and the second one being kind of like a gradual and insidious kind of deal. So like if you put it into med school terms, the first one is like a traumatic event, like an accident or an injury that's very disruptive, very gestures with hands, very major, very big. The second one is like an insidious disease. It's kind of like diabetes, where you don't really have an inciting event, but it gradually like creeps up on you, and you're like, before you know, you're like, dang, I feel the burnout. And as I'm recording this, people are passing by looking into the SGL, wondering why I'm talking to a camera, which is so funny. My lashes look like I have caterpillars on my eyes. But basically I'm illustrating elements of a crash out now. Like my attention span has been so everywhere all at once. It's been very finicky, and sometimes it's hard to concentrate. But I'm gonna speak more so to the second one that's kind of gradual, and I feel like sometimes you don't even notice it until you kind of stop and you're like, wow, I'm kind of a little burnt out, or wow, I kind of like need to take a break, because we're always like working, studying all the time. And I feel like sometimes when you get into such a robotic type of sequence and routine throughout your day, you start to feel very robotic. When you're just constantly doing that day in and day out, sometimes you don't notice it, but it kind of builds up. And there will just be one day where you just reach a point and you're like, wow, I literally cannot concentrate, cannot focus. My mind is like going everywhere all at once. And of course, people are like, oh, just like use discipline, be systematic. If you have a schedule, stick to it. If you have a system in place, like your system will carry you throughout the lack of discipline. And while this is true, sometimes your brain mentally just cannot like stuff in any more information. And I feel like for me, this happens a lot, not when we have the most packed modules ever, because I found that when the modules are very packed, sometimes I'm just so busy, I don't have time to think about outside things. But sometimes when they are like stacked and structured, but at the same time there are these little pockets of spare time to think and be with your thoughts, and also outside things happen, you start to realize, you're like, wow, I'm a little bit crashing out now. Also, so many things that happen outside of med school that can greatly contribute to this. So for example, if you're dealing with like a breakup, relationship, family drama, finances, juggling other responsibilities, especially if you have a family, things kind of crop up, and you kind of get to this point where you're like, wow. Like, and I feel like it's been happening too, like as we approach the end of M2 year, sometimes some of my friends and I were literally like, wow, I just don't care anymore. Like there'll be an assignment and we're like, you know what, it's okay. It's okay. It's definitely a distinction and a fine line between being like, oh, I don't really care anymore, versus, oh, I genuinely am like giving up. I'm rambling. Periods and lapses are honestly sometimes your brain signaling you that you need a break. Oftentimes you don't notice when you're constantly just going through the motions that you haven't given yourself adequate time to take a break. And even though you take a break, your mind is still going 1,000 miles an hour, and it's not actually a genuine break. It's really important that you know yourself and when you're starting to get into these crash out points. Because like for me, I will literally start talking to myself, try to get rid of like all the thoughts in my head. I think the biggest thing for me is that I start to lose my concentration A task that will take 1 hour will take me 2 hours. Myself doom scrolling on my phone, or I'll literally just be going crazy. It's fine. Important to recognize when you're at these points, and also to recognize that you're literally not alone. Everyone's just so busy, you don't kind of like stop and talk about these things, but it happens to everyone. Like, burnout is so normal when you're literally churning content, and even though like it is interesting and we're passionate about it, you do get to a point that sometimes if you don't take a break and catch up with your hobbies, stay connected to the people that are your support system, you can definitely get to that crashing out point and just get to a point where you're like, wow, I literally just don't care, I don't want to do any work, I cannot force myself to do any more work. The moral of the story is balance. Balance and giving yourself grace. It's okay to get tired. It's okay to have fatigue. It's okay to crash out every once in a while. As long as you can recognize when this occurs for you, how it occurs for you, whether for some people lose concentration, some people just get like doom scrolling or like procrastination, and also have what works for you, because it'll look different for different people. To get back to that point of to recharge yourself, regenerate yourself, give yourself a break. Also like check in with your friends, see if they're doing okay. Like this year too, since it's been so busy, I haven't been able to catch up with a lot of people. And when I do talk to them, I'm like, whoa, you were like dealing with that, or whoa, that happened. This was a bit of a rambly video, but I kind of want to get back to that raw talking video. So I did my makeup today and I was like, I'm going to film something because I'm not going to waste the effort that I put in. And you can clearly see I am on my break and not wanting to do the antipsychotic drugs. We're also in brain and behavior, the brain and behavior module, and I feel like I'm losing both my brain and my behavior. I love how these videos are getting progressively more unhinged as the year goes on. 2 is almost over. We're gonna be rotating. Things move so fast. If you have been sticking with my channel, I really appreciate it. Glad I can take you guys with me on this journey because it's definitely been different from when I first started as an undergrad up until now, in more ways than one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.